I didn't know anything about ADHD like the others. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 35. You know, I just needed to be me. And I had no clue what that meant. And this kind of touches on what Brendan was talking about, like that need for authenticity. I said, like, okay, I have no clue. I know I'm different. And I just decided to accept that. I know I'm different. I don't know what this means. And I made a dating profile, and I overshared constantly because that's just what my dating profile needed to look like, because I wanted to just like let people know who the heck I was. And ironically enough, that's how I met my current wife. And like a few years later, when I was like trying to really like try to figure out what was going on, my oldest son had been diagnosed with ADHD, so I'd looked into it, and as I read into it, I was like, oh, wow, a lot of this is really resonating. And I went to my wife and I said, I think I have ADHD. And she was like, you didn't know? And I'm like, no, I didn't know. When did you know? And she's like, I knew when I read your dating profile. My wife is a special education teacher, and she's been one for 20 years. And I was like, why didn't you say anything? She's like, I just thought you were being a dude about it. And
love that.
But her acceptance, right? And this is kind of like post-dating acceptance, like she knew from the get-go. And this was a couple of years into our relationship. So I was just like, oh, what does this mean? And she was like, well, it means you need therapy. I'm like, okay, that's given. We already, like, okay. And she's like, it doesn't mean anything. It just means you think differently. That's it. She was like, this is what I tell my kids all the time. You think differently. That's all. And that dichotomy between what I had been, what I had seen in the former relationships and a lot of the relationships I was in led to a level of me being able to have that conversation with her about a lot of the things I struggled with. We got into some really deep conversations about intimacy. When it comes to, affection, I'm very affectionate, but that doesn't always lead to sex. I'm one of those different peoples when it comes to that kind of stuff, right? For me, sex is a fun thing to do every now and then, especially if it's a new person that I really enjoy things with and the hyperfixation is there. But after that, sex doesn't mean a lot to me. What's more important to me as a man is the rubbing her feet on the sofa and watching a movie together, and just our love languages are different. Penguin pebbling. I love this one as a neurodivergent love language. Giving people a gift, whether that's a TikTok video or an Instagram reel or something like that made me think of them at the time. Sweet Nothing, a thing about ADHD. Thank you, Kai, by the way. A lot of yours get shared. An article I read, a podcast I heard. These are just little moments of love languages. Mark gets like a half dozen like TikTok videos from me all the time, and because he's my brother, and I want him to think about it. I sent him one about a cape the other day, right? And so my intimacy is different, and that's okay. And my current wife, she taught me that, like from the get-go, that I could talk to her about those things. I could talk to her about sex not being a big deal for me until it is a big deal for me, which is cyclical. Right. And it may be like where I go a whole month where it's just like, hey, that's all I think about. And then there may be a whole 6 months where it's not even on my mind. Has nothing to do with her. I'm very attracted to my wife. She's beautiful. But she's the person who made me feel safe enough to talk about that thing. And a lot of men don't have that. We see this a lot in the men's group. They can't talk to their wives about their erectile dysfunction. Like medication gave them, Strattera is an issue with this, a couple other medications. They can't talk to their wives about that they need something that's different. Maybe they have a kink that's a little bit off the wall, right? They can't talk to their wives about that kind of stuff because, like, it's not okay. It's not safe. And a lot of people need to understand that men need to be able to feel that way to have a better communication style with their spouses, male or female alike. And we don't have that a lot of times. those expectations of what a man is supposed to be are instilled, and we have to break that mold. We have to give men the ability to have those conversations, because when we give men those ability to have those conversations, then they are more open to hearing those conversations from other people around them, especially their own spouse, who may have her own issues with sexuality or kinks or things like that. But it's hard. I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky few out there, right? A lot of men don't have that ability to have that conversation. And my wife has taught me to be horrifyingly grateful of having her in my life.